Hello and good morning, my dear friends of class 8 A, B, and C. This is your English teacher, mentor, and guide, Prabhat Sharma, with you once again. Today we begin with section 2 of Unit 5, Man and Machines, and section 2 is about feathered friend. Let us see who the feathered friend is. And in this course of time, in the lesson, section 2, Feathered Friend, we'll read a science fiction about a small canary. It's a bird whose existence in a space station helped to save lives. So, dear students, shall I begin? Everybody take out page 126. To the best of my knowledge, there's never have been a regulation that forbids one to keep pets in a space station. No one thought ever it was necessary. And even had such a rule existed, I am quite certain that Seven Olsen would have ignored it. So, what do you mean that regulation is a rule? Okay, we move on to the next para. With a name like that, you will see picture Seven at once as a 6 foot 6 Nordic giant built like a bull and with a voice to match. Had it been so, his chances of getting a job in the space would have been very slim. Actually, he was a wiry little fellow, like most of the early spacers, and managed to qualify easily for the 150-pound bonus that kept so many of us on a reducing diet. What do you mean by Nordic over here in the passage? So Nordic actually belongs a person belonging to the Nordic countries. And what is the Nordic countries? A geographical region or a cultural region in northern Europe and the North Atlantic. And what do you mean by have 150-pound bonus? It means you get extra money at some places for keeping the weight light. Okay, maybe in the airlines. So we shall begin, we shall begin chapter paragraph 3, chapter 2, unit 5, feathered friend. So in the continuance, Sivan was one of the best construction men and excelled at a tricky and specialized work of collecting assorted girders, as they floated around in free fall, making them do the slow motion, three-dimensional ballet that would get them into the right positions and fusing the pieces together when they were precisely devoted into the intended pattern. It was a skilled and difficult job, for a space suit is not the most convenient of crafts in which to work. However, Stevens' team had one great advantage over the construction gangs you can see, putting up skyscrapers down on Earth. They could step back and admire their handiwork without being abruptly parted it by gravity. Don't ask me why Steven wanted a pet, or why he chose the one he did. I'm not a psychologist, but I must admit that his selection was very sensible. Claribel weighed practically nothing. Her food requirements were tiny, and she was not worried, as most animals would have been, by the absence of gravity. I first became aware of that Claribel was aboard when I was sitting in a little to behold, laughingly called my office, checking through my visits of technical stores to decide what items we'd be running out for next. When I heard the musical whistle beside my ear, I assumed that it had come over the station intercom and waited for an announcement to follow. It didn't. Instead, there was a long and involved pattern of melody that made me look up with such a start that I forgot all about the angel beam just behind my head. When the stars had ceased to explode before my eyes, I had my first view of Claribel. She was a very small yellow canary, hanging in the air as motionless as a hummingbird, and with such much less effort, for her wings were quietly folded along her sides. We stared at each other for a minute, then, before I had quite recovered my wits, she did a curious kind of backward loop I am sure no earthbound canary had ever managed, and departed with a few leisurely flicks. It was quite obvious that she'd already learned how to operate in the absence of gravity and did not believe in doing unnecessary work. Finn didn't confess to her ownership for several days, and by the time it no longer mattered because Claribel was a general pet. He had smuggled her up on a last ferry from Earth. When he came back from leave, partly he claimed, out of sheer scientific curiosity, he wanted to see just how a bird would operate when it had no weight but could still use its wings. Claribel thrived and grew fat. On the whole, we had little trouble concealing our guest when the VIPs from Earth came visiting. Our space station has more hiding places than you can count. The only problem was that Caribou got rather noisy when she was upset. And we sometimes had to think fast to explain the curious peeps and whistles it came from ventilating shafts and storage bulkheads. There was a couple of narrow escapes, but then who would dream of looking for a canary in the space station? We are now on 12-hour watches, which was not as bad as it sounds, since you need little sleep in space. Though, of course, there is no day and night when you are. I'm turning the page. We are floating in permanent sunlight. It was still convenient to stick to the terms. Certainly, when I woke that morning, it felt like 6 a.m. on Earth. I had a nagging headache and vague memories of fitful, disturbed dreams. It took me ages to undo my bunk straps and was still only half awake when I joined the remainder of the duty crew in the mess. So breakfast was unusually quiet, and there was one seat vacant. Okay, guys. So that's all for the time being from the book. So, my dear students, we have learned till now about a feathered friend whose name was Canary, C-A-N-A-R, Canary. It's a small yellow bird who was hanging in the air like a hummingbird. And who had brought it? It was Sivin. Sven. Swen. Sven. Okay. And the name of that bird was Claribel. Okay, here you see that the bird, how it approaches. So it's Claribel. We have seen some meanings of the new and difficult words, strange words. First was regulation, that means rule. Second, Nordic means belonging to Nordic countries, a geographical and cultural region in North Europe and the North Atlantic. Then the third one was a £150 bonus, which meant extra money for keeping the weight light. So these were a few difficult words which we came through till now. As we proceed to the lesson, we'll see some other pages and some other difficulties also. If you have any difficulty, please be in touch. Do contact me anytime when you want. But probably you should contact during the school hours. That is more feasible. So up till then, it is goodbye and good luck from all of us here. May God bless you all. Please take care of yourself. This is your teacher, Prabhat Sharma, bidding adieu with you. So bye bye. Please take care of yourself. Okay. Wash your hands, wear masks. Okay. And keep social distancing 6 feet away from the strangers. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. Goodbye.